guys, it's Lulu here from Spectora. I'm a member of the client success team, and I'm here with Kevin to give you a pretty in-depth overview of the software. We have our startup series, but we wanted to give you a deep dive as well.
What's up, everybody? Kevin here. You've seen me maybe on other videos, but Lulu is going to be helping me out, walking you guys through some of the basics. We know everything isn't covered in some of the other videos, but yeah, we want to just talk you through the platform because it's been a while since we've done one of these and lots has changed.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll go right to our dashboard.
And for those of you that need a little background on Spectora that maybe don't fully know, we are the leading web-based platform for home inspectors to run their business on. You can do everything from writing the report to automation, emails, texts, agreements, payments, pretty much everything you need. We build websites too. And as Lulu mentioned, our client success team is amazing, and we're here to help you guys pretty much with whatever you need. So we're gonna hit it up, go through everything, and yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Perfect. So if you're on a free trial, your dashboard is going to look a lot like this. This is kind of your home base for everything Spectora. Just to give you a quick rundown, this today box is your inspections for the day. You can schedule a new inspection from here or on your calendar. So this is your calendar. You can break it down. I have it on a 4-week basis. You can do day or week, whatever works best for you. You'll see this plus sign. You can click any day and schedule a new inspection or an event to block some time. I have mine for a dentist appointment. You can schedule some off days there too.
We might go through it later too, and you can sync with your iCal or Google Calendar also to where it syncs up so you can block off certain days. I know new inspectors usually want to make sure that it respects maybe their other job or other things they have on their calendar. But we've thought of that, and it works.
Exactly. Our Google Calendar integration is really handy because it will pull events straight from your Google Cal, so you don't have to duplicate.
Totally. Yep.
If you keep heading down, this is probably an underutilized area right here. We have our support box. There's our YouTube channel, which you're probably on right now. The startup series is a pretty quick overview, really digestible videos. The support center is one of my favorites because I write some of the articles on there and I think they're pretty handy.
Yep.
You can search for anything. So if you have a question about agreements, type that in and it'll pull up our full base of articles that we've written on agreements.
Great call. Use that if you're a new inspector. It's going to be your best friend. Chat's great. Our team's amazing, but there's times where you just want to self-serve, honestly, or if it's 9 o'clock at night, you can get your answers.
Most of the articles as well have screenshots and videos you can follow along with. So if you need something that's slower paced, this is perfect. It'll show you exactly what that'll look like for you. So back to our dashboard. One other thing to take a look at is our podcast with Kevin. Not to brag on him or anything, but it's a pretty fun industry overview and definitely unique. Go ahead.
I think every new inspector should listen to this. I'm biased, but also I've heard from so many inspectors that have messaged me and said it specifically has given them actionable tips and advice of what experienced inspectors have done to grow. And so everyone listen to it. Let me know what you think, and maybe you'll be on it someday.
Be sure to check out the one with me and Katie.
With you. Yeah, Lulu's been on it. It was great.
Really fun. If you're just starting out as well, or you've been with us for a bit longer, the Spectora user group is a wonderful community full of Spectora users. You can ask them Spectora questions. We see a lot of funny stuff on there all the time. So if you're looking for a place on Facebook of people that relate to you on a daily basis, the user group is great.
And it's a friendly group. So if any of you have been in other forums or places where sometimes the experienced inspectors will not be as nice when you come in there and ask questions, we're most proud of our community because they treat people with respect and they're professionals. So if you're new and looking for a place, I say absolutely join there and get active. We have a no assholes policy in there, basically.
You'll be booted.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and look at the top of our dashboard again. To access other parts of Spectora.com, these are your handy dandy shortcuts. So templates, contacts, automation. The big one would be your settings. So we'll dive into that in just a minute. But one more menu to take a look at is the hamburger menu that pops up when you click your name. And that's going to be some more in-depth shortcuts. So one of them would be the data exports. End of the year comes, you need some inspection data, mileage, all that good stuff, or you just want a spreadsheet, break it all down. You can download CSVs right from that page. We also have the inspections page, and the tabs are customizable. I would actually recommend just adding the inspections page to these tabs up here. And you can do that under settings, user settings. So when you click inspections, this is easy access to all of your inspections, and it's also searchable. You can filter it by today's inspections, past inspections. If you need to search for a particular agent, I'm sure I have a Megan in there. So that's your perfect one to find a specific inspection if you're crunched on time. Okay, so let's dive into our settings.
Yeah, settings is a place where most inspectors should start. I think when you're new, the tendency is, I just want to create an inspection and get going. And sometimes that's okay. And you can certainly do that. But like getting your services and fees set up, your profile, all the basics, you should be going through this. And so we'll step you through it.
Definitely. I would say settings are your biggest one for client facing. And then for the reports itself, spend a chunk of time on your template, and we'll go over that in just a bit. So the basics are at the top here. Plug through all of these as you're getting started, set up your profile, set up your services, when you want to be scheduled. One basic on the profile, getting your logo and company name in there populates in other places. So make sure to get a picture of your dog or your logo in there, and just know that when you put it there, that's how it generates on the report. That's how your company name generates in the agreements. So take the time to do this, because a lot of times people will just leave the generic My Inspection Company there and wonder why it says My Inspection Company in their agreement. And if you set that up fully, when people use our Find an Inspector directory page, the more configured that is, the closer to the top you'll appear. That inspector reviews, so be sure to turn those on.
Yep.
If you keep scrolling here on the settings page, we're broken down by categories that are pretty straightforward. I would recommend taking some time to click through these as well to find out what the right settings are for your company. The big ones would be agreements. So this is where you can edit your inspection agreement, add a new one, especially if you have multiple services. If you have an inspection agreement and you also do radon testing and you want a separate agreement for that, you can create a whole other one.
Click into that agreement for me, Lulu. I want to make sure they understand that it's a digital agreement. You sign it, the customer will get it and basically have a checkbox to digitally sign it, which is legally binding. And then if they're on site with you, say they didn't sign it and they show up in the driveway, they can sign it with their finger in the mobile app. So that's a lesson for another day, but just know you get this set up for the first time and it gets sent to your client automatically when you book inspections. And you can see these placeholders here on the right where you just add those in, and then you got the curly braces in the actual agreement, which populate the actual address of the inspection.
You can use placeholders pretty much anywhere in Spectora. We have a full list in our article center that I was showing you. I think they're one of the coolest because you can make everything so customized without having to do anything yourself. So we have about, I don't know, maybe 50 placeholders of everything you can imagine, and you can put those in your template. You can put them in your agreements, in your automated emails and texts. So a really easy way to make all of those features more customized.
Yep, it's all about automation. And I got this question the other day, but like obviously you'd replace your company name at the top with it, in place of maybe InterNACHI, and kind of customize this as you will. If you have your own agreement, you literally copy and paste it into here and format it, and then you're good to go.
This is where you would set up Spectora payments if you choose to use us. We also integrate with Square and Authorize.net. But once you have this set up, you can have your clients pay right on the inspection link that they get and the automated texts and emails. You can also, like, they can sign the agreement on the app. They can pay right there when you're on site. You can take a picture of your card. It makes it really easy, especially if they hadn't checked out their client portal yet.
So important, right, Lulu? I'm sure you get questions on this every day of like the most important part, like how do you get paid when you're new? You want to get paid on that first one. And so setting up electronic payments is a must nowadays. We all know everyone pays by credit card. People want to pay on their phone. They want to pay online. So if you're thinking about doing only checks, I advise you against that. I think the modern way is set up payments so they can click a button and get you paid as soon as you schedule it. So then that's one less thing you're having to worry about the day of the inspection, because putting ourselves in your shoes, you don't have to worry about getting paid. You have enough to worry about trying to learn how to do an inspection. So set it up. I think the rate's 2.75%. So we negotiated a lower rate on Spectora payments because of the size and the volume of customers we have. So that's probably the lowest rate you're going to find in the industry. And there's no fees. One thing to keep in mind is a lot of credit card companies tack on like a monthly or annual fee, and then they say they'll give you a rate of like 1.5%. And that's kind of baloney in my opinion.
I agree. Our payment processor makes it really easy. Just have to enter some personal details so we can make sure that you're legit, and you'll be up and running to take payments in 15 minutes.
Oh, and on the mobile app, we have a photo capture where you can capture the credit card on site. So say they don't pay when you schedule the inspection with the link. If they show up in the driveway, hand you a credit card, you just tap on payments in the mobile app and it'll bring up the card reader to capture the credit card.
Let's keep going. The last thing that I want to highlight is our system integrations. It's a pretty extensive list of companies integrations that we partnered with from Spectora, and we offer quite the assortment. So take a look at these. If anything is right for you, if you use ISN or Google Drive, we've got them. We also have down here your user settings. You can have a per user integration. So this is where you'll find that Google Calendar integration that we were talking about.
Yep. And how that works, again, it hopefully is seamless where you put something into your Google Calendar, you see it in the Spectora dashboard and vice versa. That is two-way, right?
Yeah, the Google Cal is two-way.
Okay.
iCal is not. So We'll pull from your calendar and we'll push to your calendar as well.
Cool. And
Great.
We'll get to it in a minute, but like that blocks off your availability. So we'll get to availability in a minute, but this would override it. And basically, so like you said, if you have a dentist appointment, you put that in there, you can't get scheduled. So just know that we respect those rules.
And you don't have to run around. Like if you throw it on your Google Cal, that'll pull into your Spectora calendar in a few minutes versus, did I add that to my Spectora calendar? So it skips a extra step on your part. All the way back at the top, I want to focus on services and fees because that's one that it can tend to be a beast to set up, but once you've got it, it saves so much time on your part. And you can have Spectora automatically calculate the cost of your service, the time of your service based on all different kinds of things like square footage or the year the home was built. So I have my one service set up right now, residential inspection. You can add as many services as you'd like if you do radon testing, termite, anything like that. So my one standalone service right now is residential inspection. I'm not as qualified as some of these guys. And so my base cost is $300 and my base duration is 2.5 hours. But all these modifiers down here, I can build on that. So if I know that I'm going to be doing a 3,000 square foot home, I know that that's going to take more time. That's going to take more money. So I can configure my modifiers to calculate that for me automatically. Before I dive into those too much, I do just want to highlight that you can have a default template. So it'll pull down a list of all the templates that you have, and you can select one or multiple that makes sense for your service. So you could select a different one for a different service, but for residential, I want my residential template, along with a default agreement. So when you schedule an inspection, that report is going to build from that template, and that agreement will populate automatically without any extra effort on your part.
That's a big one. I think that's new inspectors skip over that sometimes because they just want to get to testing and playing with it. Jump in there and make sure the template that you want to generate is selected for your basic service, because you have to select a service when you book an inspection. So we'll show you that in a minute.
It'll definitely save you some time, and there's nothing worse than getting on the app to do the inspection and then realizing that you don't have the right template. So we can sort you really quickly on the help bubble, but that'll make it easier for you. So I just have square footage modifiers right now, but we have a whole list of things that you can modify off of. So square meters, if that's your jam. We have age of home, year built, the zip code. So if you know that certain zip codes might be pricier and you want to charge a little more, or even if you're traveling longer to go to certain zip codes, you can add some fees based on that.
For Beverly Hills zip code, yeah. Right?
I know I'd be charging a premium. So foundation type, if you know that a certain type of foundation takes you longer or is maybe more hazardous for you, you can charge for that. Distance traveled. We also have custom scheduling fields that you can set up when you set up your scheduler, and you can base it off of your custom scheduling field. So if I want to charge more for pink houses, I could.
Right. You could put whatever you want in these. So think about anything that you could ask or want to know from a client or agent when they're scheduling. You can make that change how much you're charging and how long it takes. So just know it's pretty infinitely customizable with custom fields.
And every custom field that you creates one of those placeholder things that we were talking about. So you can even create a placeholder off of a custom field.
Ooh, I even forgot we do that, which is amazing.
I think placeholders are legit.
Yeah, underutilized probably, but that's kind of a 201 level. So for new inspectors, you'll get to that.
So I just want to stress that these modifiers are not linked. So they're not talking to each other. So if you're starting at 1,500 to 2,000 square feet and you set your fee as $25, something scheduled above that, so let's say for 2,500 feet, is not going to account for previous modifiers. So just make sure you're building onto each modifier when you're adding your fees and your hours. So you can see that mine are gradually increasing. And I only have modifiers up to 4,000 square feet. So if I have a house that's scheduled for more, like 5,000, it's not going to have a modifier that matches it. So it's going to default to your base rate. So just make sure that you've got all your bases covered here. If I know that this type of house, like the age of the home, let's say it's more than 25 years, I can set up that modifier to charge for that. So I'll show you how the whole dealio works.
Yeah, it's a good call on them not stacking and being additive. That's a common question. It's they're only charged for what they are in that line item, not adding the one prior. Good call.
Yeah, exactly. And you can do per square feet. So you can charge per square feet, but that won't start at a certain point. So that'll start at 1 square foot. That's why we see the ranges being more popular. It also can throw off your price a little bit. Like you might end up with some, like if you have a 967 square foot house,
yeah,
numbers, am I right? That'll throw a weird dollar amount in there. So if you want to keep things really rounded and even, ranges would also be your best bet.
And for those that do want, aspire to make pricing more complex, we've done a good amount of surveys and checked with clients and agents, and overwhelmingly it was too confusing when it was, hey, charge $50 extra up to 2,500 square feet, but then 7 cents per square foot and a half after. Like, don't do it. Don't overcomplicate as a new inspector. I think the ranges make sense. And there's ways to adjust your costs without overcomplicating it.
Exactly. So if we keep going, each standalone service has an option for an add-on. So you can see I've set up my radon add-on service, and I can select a separate fee for that than my standalone service. So if I'm just doing a radon test, I can charge $200. But if I know that's going to be tacked onto a home inspection, I can make that cost lower, and I can have it take less time. On your add-on services, you can populate another default template and agreement. So once again, just saving you that extra step.
Yep. And these add-ons basically appear once someone's scheduling online. They're also, when you're scheduling an inspection on the dashboard, they'll also show up. But it's just a nice kind of add-on that populates, shows them that they can click it, add it, easy extra money.
Yeah, easy upsell for sure. Okay, so anything else you want to cover on the services and fees?
No, I think, yeah, go there first, set up the basics, and then you kind of play and learn from there. But I think like getting familiar with it, I think this checks the box.
And as you set up your test inspections, you can see how those modifiers affect your cost.
Oh, availability, we should hit.
Availability. So I have a few team members here, two of myself and my dog. But if you're looking at your schedule here, you can see I have an open schedule. So my time range is from 8 to 5, and people can schedule me anytime within that window. So if I want to do those 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. slots, I can just toggle this over to time slots, and I can add 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. So that way, if someone schedules the 9 a.m., the 2 p.m. is the only thing that will be available, as opposed to an open time frame.
And new inspectors, this is kind of your call on how you want to run your business. If it's open, it'll show as many slots available as allows based on your duration of your services. So think it'll show a ton of time open. Sometimes new inspectors maybe don't want that look. Maybe to an agent, you want it to look like you only have a couple time slots. So I do see more people using time slots over open schedule. So you kind of just have to decide what works for you.
One thing I do want to point out is with the open schedule, if your time ends at 5 and your inspection takes 2 hours, the last availability will be at 3. So you're not going to be scheduling yourself well into the night. It will take into account your modifiers and what you've set up for time as well.
Yep. They'll respect your rules, and they can override this when they schedule from the dashboard, right? So it's like when you're the one scheduling as an inspector, you can schedule yourself whenever. This is purely online scheduler to make sure you have control over what people can schedule you for.
It's true. The only thing you need to save an inspection is a time and the address itself. So you can override all of this, but especially if you're using one of those online schedulers on your site, this is a really good thing to have configured properly.
Oh, and and this ties back to the calendar thing. If I had a dentist appointment at 10 o'clock, I put that on my calendar, that 9 a.m. slot will no longer show as available.
Okay, so if we click this templates tab, this takes us to the holy grail of our report writing. So every report that you write in Spectora is stamped out from one of these templates. It basically creates the mold for all of the reports that you write. So like we were talking about before, make sure that you take some time to really get this exactly how you'd like. You do have the ability to save to your template as you're throwing new comments on your report or editing them. But just to give you a perfect base, this is where you should start.
Yeah, I'd say if you're a new inspector, please do not just show up at your first paid inspection without spending some time here knowing what's in your template. I've seen it happen. Take the time, find the time.
We load a default template from InterNACHI on your test account or your trial account. But if you're ever interested in other templates that we offer, or you need a state specific form, your template center right here is such a fun place.
Oh yeah.
And this will have, Spectora has put out a lot of those special form template. We have your InterNACHI commercial, your ASHI, a mold inspection, a radon. So you can poke around in here. If you click on any of these, you'll be able to preview the template, what that looks like, and then add the template to your account.
So if you're in Texas or Florida, we got you covered. We have thousands of inspectors, everywhere. So we have the forms that output the forms you need for your state.
We also have some community templates down here. Ben Grumiko from InterNACHI has a really detailed variation of the default template that we load on your account. So if you're a new inspector and you want some narrative examples, that's a great one. Other Spectora users who have been kind enough to share their template are down here. So you can really go through, if you live in an area of the country that has one thing that pops up on every inspection that might not in other parts of the country, you can find someone in your area too.
Let you just browse their comments, see the way they do things. For new inspectors, that's very helpful. I would caution against adding all of them to your account. There is limits to our system, and sometimes you can bog it down if you try to add, 20, 30 templates. So make sure to keep it clean and delete ones that you're not going to use.
And utilize that preview button before you add.
Yep. I'll include a link to Ben Gramico actually doing an inspection with Spectora using his template. Super helpful video. So that link will be in the description.
Perfect. So let's head back to the template editor. So just to give you a breakdown of the organization of each template, we have sections, subsections called items. So you can see if I click into my roof, I have roof specific items here. And then each item has comments. So you can have your informational comments, limitations, there was snow on the roof, and then your defect comments. So your findings on the inspection. We have the ability for optional and default sections and items. So if you see the gray, that means that it's an optional section. So that would have to be added on a per report basis. We make it really easy. You just have to tap new section and add an optional section, and you can do that on the app or the web editor. So if you know that there are things that you don't use as often and you don't want to go through the trouble of deleting them every time, optional sections are great for that. If you ever want to toggle that off, you can click this pencil icon here. Same goes for items, and just switch it to included in every report.
That is the main thing to check when you say to yourself, how come I'm not seeing my garage section? I'm doing this report 9 times out of 10. It's because it's optional and you just have to add the section in the app.
And when you're looking at your template, you want to see a lot of blue. If you're seeing all gray or sections or items, you might have to go back and do some editing.
Yeah, and there's 2 ways to handle this too. You can delete any section on a report. So say if there's no fireplace, you can always swipe left on that section in the mobile app and delete it from that report. So you can decide to delete every time, or you can do optional, which seems to save you more time, I imagine.
Definitely. While we're editing this section, you can change the name here. You can change the icon of the section. So we have some fun options for you. This is where you're going to want to add your standards of practice. That'll show up before every section in a tab on the PDF. It'll be at the bottom of it. And you can even set mobile reminders for yourself. So if you know that there's something you miss when you're looking at refrigerators every single time, ahead of your kitchen section, set a little reminder for yourself.
Big deal for new inspectors. You just tap it in the mobile app, it expands and shows you, hey, make sure to check this. Do not miss this.
Need reminders constantly, and I feel like this functions a lot better than Post-its.
Yeah.
So for items, it's the same deal when you're editing. The one thing I do want to highlight is you can make info only items. And that basically means that you're not going to have any defect comments. You're not going to have your ratings if you're using the IN, NI, those ratings. So if you have an item that's strictly informational, like this one here, it's just my general item. You can add like appliance brand or material used here, and it won't look like your other sections or items that might have defects.
Yep. Love general for storing some of that, just kind of like good to know stuff as a home buyer. Some people put all their informational comments in the general section. Some spread them out, kind of like you're seeing here with brand being within dishwasher. We
have a couple different types of comments. So informational being exactly what we're talking about. Limitations being anything that affected your inspection. And then deficiencies, your findings, like I said. With informational comments, you have a couple different format types. So what I'm looking at here is a multiple choice comment. So if we add a new comment, you can name it and then you can choose the format. So I can do multiple choices. I can do a date and a calendar will populate, a number or a number range. And with number, it's pretty cool. You can choose a unit. So if you have amps or watts or
all the other things that used to measure.
You can type those in here, and it's saving you another step while you're inspecting. Last one that I want to go over is your signature comment. So this one I feel like doesn't come up a lot for inspectors, but if you ever have a part of your template that you need a signature, whether from you or your client or the homeowner, it pops up on an app, on your app, and you can just sign with your finger. So super handy.
Most common ones, I'd say multiple choice and checkbox. So we kind of listed them in order of the ones that are most commonly used.
And checkbox, I feel like it's important to stress. If you check it on, that means yes or present. And if you don't check it, it's a no. So keep in mind when you're naming your comment or anything like that, if you check it on, it'll be present in the report. And if you don't check it, it won't be in the report.
Show.
And your limitations and your defect comments are all going to be checkbox. So we don't have different comment types for
it's
those.
Just there or not. Yeah, you check it off and it populates or not. So that won't show in the report if you don't click it on in the report.
You can default comments to checked. So if you know that something comes up in every single house you inspect, or you have an informational comment that you want in every report without having to tap it, you can check that box.
Big time saver right there of default to checked. I see a lot of inspectors using that for informational comments or FYI kind of educational text. So a lot of information, like a standard kind of disclaimer on appliances. It's like you don't want to have to tap that every report. You just click default to checked and it shows up.
We're all about saving those taps.
Saving time, saving taps. And then down below in each comment, you probably notice the default text down below. And that's kind of where you expand on whatever it is you're trying to say. The comment, there'll be comments there in most of the defects and comments in the InterNACHI template.
Also here are going to be your defect ratings. I'm going to pop up to the top here. You can get to your broad template settings by clicking the template name, or you can click these three dots right here and click template settings. So here's where you can change the more in-depth thing that don't have to do with your sections, items, comments, including the report name. But the defect categories, so we automatically set you up with 3. If you know that you only have 2 kinds of defects severity ratings, you can toggle to 2 or even 1 if you want. This basically means your ranking of how severe the defect is. So maintenance item, this little blue wrench here, is going to be your least severe, moderate severity, and then dangerous. So you can rename these. So if you prefer to use different terminology here, you absolutely can. You can also choose which ones are included in the summary of the report. So if you don't want maintenance item defects popping up, you can uncheck it. If you want them, you can check them on.
And again, this is another area where we surveyed and researched, and more than 3 categories, homeowners and agents found confusing and overwhelming. And so we don't have the ability to add more than 3 because we found it kind of gets away from what they're after, which is what do I need to negotiate for in this house? That's usually the safety hazards. And then everything else is kind of on a good to know basis. So when you call out every defect in a report, you're going to flag it as, low, medium, high.
So a couple other things while we're in here. Header text is going to be what pops up ahead of all of your comments. So we have a video in there from Kevin on how to read your home report, making it really simple for your clients and agents. If you'd like to add some more text, you can do that here. Your item ratings.
Oh, I have something on the header text. Usually good if you're in a state that requires some kind of disclaimer text or consumer protection notices. I see a lot of inspectors putting like a glossary up there, breaking down their defect categories to kind of help them read it and know how to read the report. So pretty much the sky's the limit there with putting in stuff that makes your clients feel like they know what's going on and how to read the report.
And they're multimedia too. So you can add videos, like we've seen, you can add pictures on that glossary Kevin was talking about. People have taken screenshots of the icons and they'll put that right in the top and break down what each defect category means. So your item ratings, this is one we get questions on a lot. So we have 2 types of item ratings, and you can also choose not to use them, but they're called classic and custom. And classic is going to be your IN for inspected, NI for not inspected, not present, and then whatever your defect comment is. So the big thing to know about classic ratings is that they're linked to your comments. So at the top of every report, you'll see the options for you to tap the rating. If you tap NI or NP, your limitations comments will show. And if you tap your defect comments will show. So that's a big one to keep in mind if you're using classic ratings and you get to the report and you're like, where are my defect comments? Check to see if you've tapped the D or the O or whatever it is.
Very common. Yep. Where are all my comments? Well, you got to select deficiency first, then they show up.
And if that's not your jam, for some people it can save steps. For some people it's confusing. Custom ratings are a good option to use. So if you still want the grid, but you don't want those linked comments, you can use custom ratings, as well as change the color and the name and the abbreviation, and you can add up to 7 here.
So now when you select deficiency or not present, that's not going to show or not show comments in the mobile app. They're going to be completely unlinked, and it's on you to kind of make sure you're flagging something, what it is, and then selecting a comment down below.
Okay, the last thing I want to touch on templates, if you ever want to copy an item, section, or comment, this double paper icon. You can copy it within the same template. You can copy it to another template. So,
that's a big one. Yeah. So when you import those other templates, you can take sections from, say, Ben's template, put it into yours. This gives you a lot of flexibility.
It does. And then delete is just that trash can. It'll be on all of your entries. So back to my dashboard, I just want to walk you through scheduling a new inspection. You can schedule it from here or your calendar. So this is my little pop-up. I just changed my availability that you guys saw, and I'm no longer scheduled on Friday. I just have Monday availability. This warning won't prevent you from scheduling an inspection. So it'll warn you one more time before you press save if you're double booking yourself. But you have control here. You're the inspector, you're the administrator, but you can just exit out of it once you've taken a look at it. So this address line, we integrate with I think it's public info database. So we're pulling a lot of info from another database to help you schedule. So if I type anything here, I've got my options for addresses.
Big disclaimer, always double check with public source or wherever you get square footage data from. We do our best to pull from public sources, but it's not meant to be 100% reliable because there's so many public databases and there's so many MLSs and you all live in different cities and states. So we do our best to help you, but make sure to double check the square footage in your build independently because that's going to impact your pricing.
It doesn't look like we have a square footage in year built for this one. So I'm going to throw some in.
Yeah. And just know that it's normal if we can't find the data. Every MLS across the country has different rules for allowing who can access their data. And we're only as good as the data that we can pull and they allow us to. So just know if it doesn't pull, you're gonna have to find it from another source.
And if you have those modifiers based on price, I would just make sure to double check those every single time, like Kevin was saying. So I can enter my client here. The only thing Spectora needs to schedule is an email address. If we're looking at end user, whether it's you as an inspector, a client, an agent, instead of using names or phone numbers, we use email addresses as the unique identifier. So no two user can have the same email address. So keep that in mind. If you're adding 2 clients with the same email, it's going to register as the same client and you might have some trouble editing there.
Yep.
That's our CC line is a great opportunity for that. And you can add multiple addresses here. So
they'll get every communication throughout the inspection, right? Or every email.
Yeah, that goes out. They'll be CC'd. And you can add multiple, just separating them with a comma and a space. So I'll add an email address, and then I'm going to pop down and select my services. So I've got my residential, and oh, look, conflicts with my dentist appointment.
Perfect.
you can see that my base price was 300, but it added an extra 25 feet because my square feet was 1,500 to 2,000. If you ever need to tinker around with that, you can just press manual edit and change the fees before you schedule. You can add your agents here. We save agents, so all you have to do is type their name and we'll auto-populate. And if you want to add a new one, you can click there. Some more options for you here. The biggest one being disable notifications. Once you schedule, your confirmation emails will go out. So if you're not quite ready for those, just check that box on.
So then what happens when they want to send stuff out later? So I know a lot of new inspectors are like, I don't want to send anything till I know, what's going out. So say they disable it and schedule. Maybe we can walk through and show them how to get those sent out later.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll save the inspection with notifications disabled and I'll be redirected to my inspection details page. So this is where you can adjust everything inspection. So we'll see my cover photo, my map. I can click here if I want to change the address. I can click here if I want to change the date or time. I have my people. If I want to add an additional client or agent, I can add that here along with inspector if you're working as a team. The report, my residential report has automatically populated. And it's going to build tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. ahead of my inspection. If I need to edit it for any reason ahead of that, I can just click these 3 dots and build now, and that'll create the report.
And the reason we generated at 3 a.m. the morning of the inspection is to get your most recent template. Because if you're making changes the night before, we want those changes to reflect in tomorrow's report. So that's how we kind of make sure you're always getting your most up-to-date template is by generating it that morning.
Yeah, definitely keep in mind that template changes only affect future reports. So if you make template changes, it's not going to go retroactively. If you've already built the report and you want a new one with your new template, you can just click this plus new button here and you can add a different template or report from a template, or you can add your template again and just delete the existing report.
Let's see, this page is your hub for everything. Basically, you'll show your fees and payments, if you've gotten paid, if the agreement's signed. Yeah, let's jump into editing fees.
The 3 dots, if you ever want to see more options in Spectora, these 3 horizontal dots are where you usually find them.
Be curious, click around.
So I can add services, so I can add a rate onto this. I can view the invoice. I can mark the inspection as paid. I can also edit. So I can manually adjust the fees, I can add another one, and I can report payments. So if you do have a client pay you by cash or check, you can do that here. And client paid with cash on site. As long with your internal payment notes and some invoice text, which will be client facing if you ever need to add anything extra. So if I save that, my inspection has now been paid. So if you ever need to disable notifications in the future, they'll be in this internal box. Check it and hit save. But since I want to send out my confirmation emails, I'm going to turn it off up here so I can turn notifications back on and re-queue my confirmation emails.
So that sends it out then at that point. Cool.
So if you take a peek down here, we've sent people on the bubble a message right now. And I do want to dive into automation really quickly. If you're curious about those client and agent emails, you can find them all under your automation tab. So these go out based on what you choose. When you choose, you can turn them on for clients, agent, and even to listing agent if you choose. So
this scheduling one, most important one, right? I always hear inspectors saying, what happens when I schedule an inspection? So make sure to click edit template for these first 2 here to kind of know what goes out as soon as you click schedule. It's a pretty simple message, but we've got some friendly defaults in there to populate already for you. So a lot of it's good out of the box.
If you want to add anything, you can click on it, put your cursor where you want it, type there, or you can press one of these placeholders and it'll auto-populate. Yeah.
And that helps with it not going to spam. It helps people see the address and know it's something to pay attention to. You'd be shocked how many clients maybe don't pay attention to the confirmation email. So I like that as a best practice.
I would say the only other thing I really want to touch on here is the inspection link. That's going to be your client's portal. They can view the agreements, they can sign them there, they can pay, and they can eventually view the report on that inspection link once you publish it. So every single time they'll get that same inspection link that'll take them back. I'll show you what that looks like. But I do want to highlight that agents get a different link. So your client's agents are going to get a report link, which just shows them the report as opposed to the payments and the agreements.
Yep. And you're in control, with the agent emails. If you don't want to send them the report, you don't have to. Some states, don't allow that, but you can choose what they get by jumping into that email.
Well, I'll save that email template and I'll head back to my inspection. So if you ever are curious about that inspection link, on the top here, you can hit client view. So every time you send out an inspection link, this is what the client sees when they click it. So I don't have payments set up, but typically there would be a payment link right here. They can view the invoice. I can see that it's paid. And I can, along with, see all the people attached to the inspection.
And everything here minus the menu, since Spectora knows that you're you, they know that you're logged in. The client absolutely won't see that. It looks different for them when they're not logged in. All right, everybody. Hopefully this was helpful. Lulu, you're amazing. Thank you. I'm sure this will help answer a lot of questions for new inspectors and give them a comfort level of just poking around, but they're always welcome to write in and ask in the chat after they kind of go through this.
Yeah, we're always on the chat for you guys if you run into any questions.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.